Hi, I'm Joshua Mackey with Queerty, and I'm here today with comedian, writer, and actor Jay Jurden. Jay, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Josh.
Good. We are so happy to have you. Got to also add to your list of titles, Queerties nominee as well. Just
Yes, the
an exception.
Queerties. It was such an honor. And for it to happen, I was very surprised. And I know some of the people also in my category. So I'm truly happy for whoever wins. So thank you guys so much.
Yes, of course. Listen, while we're happy for all of the contestants, this is very much America's Next Top Model, RuPaul's Drag Race. I only got one picture in my hand, and there's a couple of girls in front of me. Why do you think, though, you should be the winner of the Queerty Award in your category?
I think I should be the winner of the Queerty Award for stand-up comedy for comedian because I have already threatened all of the other nominees. And so I feel like I've put a lot of bad energy out there already. I like sent Mateo a text that was like, so I just think that I've created a very messy environment. And if there's one thing gay people love, is mess. So vote for me because I promise to stir up.
Now, you said you like mess. Now, when anyone comes to your stand-up comedy shows,
Mhm.
are we expecting mess? Are we expecting just drama? What can we expect if we're coming to your stand-up comedy show?
If you come to a Jay Jurden comedy show, what you can expect and what you will get is jokes. And by jokes, I mean like rapid fire punchlines for 60 plus minutes. I'm a bit of an old school, very set up punch and very like, I don't know. I love showcasing my writing and I also love showcasing that I'm a pretty dynamic performer. So those things together, I try to give people a really good experience. I try to make sure that even if you think stand-up comedy is supposed to be one thing, you can watch my set and go, oh my God, that was wonderful. So, I mean, right now, a lot of different modes and mediums of comedy in a live setting are very popular. What I choose to do is just tell really good jokes for an hour and make people laugh. And then people can be like, oh my God. Because like the big thing for me right now is I want people to walk away thinking they got more than their money's worth. My favorite compliment is when people say it's even better than the clips. I'll be like, yeah, I got you. I will always say this. I want to be that one lunch lady who went to college with your mama. So when I see you in my lunch line, I'm gonna give you two scoops. I'm gonna give you two scoops of jokes, baby. I'm gonna give you two scoops of jokes. That's what you need to think about when you come to the Jay Jurden show.
Look, I always appreciated that lunch lady. I'm from a small town,
Yes,
so I understand everybody knows everybody's mama. So yes.
yes, yes. Miss Sharon, can I have two? Yeah, baby. Go ahead.
Come on, Miss Sharon. Shout out to Miss Sharon.
Shout out to all the Miss Sharons. Miss Sharon, one gold tooth. Miss Sharon, we love Miss Sharon.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And
Miss
that goes to
Sharon
too.
made them stop picking on you when she knew you were a sissy before you knew. So shout
Talk
out to
about
all those lunch ladies.
it. Shout out. Now, one thing I also feel like is, speaking of queerness, actually, um, queerness is also a part of your stand-up, and obviously, queer comic. We love seeing the queer comedy out there, and of course, this is also about culture. So, what's a queer pop culture moment that helped define your childhood outside of Miss Sharon?
Ooh, queer pop culture moment. There are so many. Many of them are tied to music before I actually was able to articulate my queerness. So there's that very, okay, so this is gonna connect with a lot of people. There can be miracles when you believe duet Mariah and Whitney. So
Mm,
Mariah Carey Butterfly was one of the first albums I was allowed to purchase. And my mom let me buy Mariah Carey Butterfly and Usher My Way, which both very queer for different reasons. But I just remember loving Mariah Carey as an artist, but also I thought she was so beautiful, but I also thought she was so interesting because like when you're 10, when you're 9, and people are being like, oh, this is her first album after the breakup from Tony Mottola. And like it's Tommy Mottola. And everyone is kind of like talking about her relationship drama, and you're just getting introduced to an artist. You're like, what? What is going on? I'm like in it deep. So Mariah Carey, just as an entity, really helped kind of define what eventually became my queer identity. So that's one. I think another very, very queer pop culture moment for me was this is gonna this might age me a little bit. There's uh not another teen movie. Chris Evans whipped cream bikini turning around with the banana.
Classic. First and foremost, I'm now going to refer to Mariah Carey as the entity that is Mariah Carey.
Yes, yes.
That has to be done. And that Chris Evans moment, as soon as you started talking about it, the visual came right back to me. So if you're aging yourself, so am I. You're in good company.
Because
No
you could
worries though.
also would see that on cable. So it was another thing where like anytime you got to see a guy's butt on TV as a young, maybe not out, but figuring things out queer person, you were like, what? I'm not supposed to see this.
In between that and sneaking clips of Noah's Ark and Queer as Folk and being caught
Yes.
in the Target under her eye.
Well, see, we never had like super premium cable. So all of those moments for me, like Noah's Ark and Queer as Folk, I had to revisit those when I finally got to undergrad and was like out of the house. So that was also, I mean, I went to school I got an English degree, then a theater degree, then another theater degree. So I also was around queer people. I went from high school and like there were no queer men, no queer boys. We had a lot of lesbians, which shout out to them. Also, what's that
Wow.
mean? What's that mean, Josh? We also had a lot of state basketball championships. So
Hey,
we go Lady Mustangs. I went from no queer kind of like people to look at and kind of see myself in to being in the theater department and English department. And when they got here, I was like, what are all these gay people doing here? When did this happen? So that was kind of fun.
I love it. Especially when you start finding your own folks or when the it starts coming out like, oh, everybody is queer around me and it
Yeah.
becomes a whole new revelation.
Yeah.
We love to see it. Now, you already talked about some iconic folks. Obviously, that Chris Evans scene is iconic. Mariah Carey is an icon, period, point blank. Who are your comedic icons?
Oh, Wanda Sykes. Wanda Sykes changed my life because when I was a graduate teaching assistant, I used to show my class the special after she comes out, I'm gonna be me. And I would show them during our comedy section, during the stand-up portion of like my lecture series. And so it was really fascinating to get to watch these undergrads at the University of Alabama enjoy this Black queer woman from the South talking about her experiences while having a queer Black male teacher from the South enjoying this. So Wanda Sykes, Wanda Sykes, Wanda Sykes, Roy Jr., he's such, I think I could never stress enough how much he's helped young Black comedians in this industry. And he's always been super kind. He's one of the funniest people I've ever seen and met. He's a genius when it comes to like giving people medicine, but also making them laugh. He's so good at everything that he does. So Robert Jr., Wanda Sykes, and a lot of Mulaney. And then, so those are like the three contemporary people that I can look at and be like, oh, that's literally the equation that equals me. Then, kind of going back, whenever I was able to look at old Richard Pryor stuff, I really was like, oh, he really changed the game. Oh my God. Whenever I was able to really kind of like see what he was doing and how kind of like transcendent it was. And then when I found out about him and Marlon Brando, I was like, I love you even more, girl. But I mean, he was like, it was just wild to me for you to understand that he basically was a blueprint for all the Black comedians that I saw growing up. Because I was watching Comedy View, I was watching Comedy Central. So like I grew up watching a lot of stand-up just because I enjoyed it and because you'd want to be able to go to school and talk about the naughty things you heard a comedian say. So yeah, I think those are my big four. If I had a star chart for my comedy life, those would be like my sun, my moon, my rising, and like my Venus.
I love it. You got to throw in that Venus, how you
I throw in
attract
that
men.
Venus. How you love, how you love. I've been learning. I've been going to LA a lot, so I've been learning how to lie and let people think I know about this stuff. So that's
Uh, you did your homework. I love it. Get
yes.
your co-star, your pattern,
Yeah. What
Johnny
happened?
Nicholas.
Listen, I right now, I think the bravest thing anyone can do is put their co-star screenshot up on Twitter or Instagram.
Oh, for all the queers to look at you and be like, a triple Gemini, a
Yeah, it
double
is because it is
Scorpio.
wild. Because like queer people now, we go, oh, we love all forms of gender identity and expression. Oh my gosh, there's so many different bodies and types of people who I love. But the minute they see when you were born and where you were born, they go, no, get them out of here. Well, in fact, we're gonna put a sign up at this bar: no Scorpios allowed. We're gonna have to have a Scorpio Million Man March to let these people back into our lives.
Oh my gosh, we'll see if it works out. We'll see. Thankfully, I am not a Scorpio, so sorry to those Scorpios.
Wait a second. Not Josh saying, listen, I love Scorpio. I have a Scorpio friend.
Listen, your words, but my thoughts. No. Now, going back to that iconic list, you talking about black queer woman from the South, and obviously you're black queer from the South. Me too. I love to connect with other folks on this, and we have to connect on one central thing that has rocked our culture to its
Oh,
core, and that is how do you feel about Beyonce's country era?
I love it. I love it. I'm from Mississippi. I'm country as hell. And so for Beyonce's country, yes, that is a compliment. For Beyonce's country put out a country album, good for her. Good for her. Because Beyonce was going to the rodeo. Beyonce, there's this thing that happens where people kind of forget that black people in the South are Southern people instead of just like
Mm,
I don't know what the rest of the country thinks. We're like also, and this is like a little bit of like a history lesson. The reason why black people all over America even sound a little country is because of the Great Migration and because of the exodus to California. So I'm from Mississippi. Literally, the Great Migration, we went Mississippi, Memphis, St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit. That's why literally everyone has connections up and down I-55. So I think that Beyonce is just embracing a very important part of her historical connection to the South and to her family. And it's one that I think we should celebrate. When you have people like Taylor Crompton, who's on Twitter and who's doing the rounds right now because she wrote an amazing article about Beyonce.
mhm.
When you have people reminding folks that cowboys were black and brown and indigenous because they were just working for the people who own the land. Like white cowboys are a very recent invention.
Listen, you better lead us, okay? You better talk.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I like reminding people that if we're gonna participate in this experiment that is America, black people have had a hand. Black people put in a lot of work in this group project. I want y'all to know that. Black people put in a lot of work. We didn't just put our name on it.
Talk about it. We really did not. Okay, that A plus belongs to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
Hmm.
well, the craziest part is when people are like, "Oh, I don't know if Beyonce literally recorded these songs, what, 4 years ago? She
Hmm.
has been sitting on it. She's been excited to talk about it. You think she just bought all these cowboy hats? Nah, they've been in the closet. She got them in hat boxes. This has been coming, so I'm excited.
Oh yeah, that Tiffany's bolo tie. Yeah, that it
Listen,
was there. Come on.
okay, I love a bolo tie. A bolo tie with turquoise is the best. I'm very excited. And as a person who loves the way modern country is going, one of the first country artists that really made me super excited for this movement, I think it had to be 2012, 2013, Casey Musgraves. When Casey Musgraves came out with Follow Your Arrow, which is a queer anthem, is truly a queer anthem. And people were like, and oh, I don't know about this new girl, Casey Musgraves. It was amazing. It was amazing. So I love it. I love everything about it.
Yes, and we love Casey too. Shout out to Casey. Shout out
Yeah,
to
shout out to Casey.
Beyonce.
Yeah, shout. I mean, and also shout out to who Mickey Guyton. I mean, it's
Mm.
like that's the other thing. Is because like now you have all these wonderful black girls in Nashville who are blowing the roof off on like their country albums, and so I hope also Beyonce's halo effect has a positive net gain for all these young black country artists.
As a person who's also from the South, very excited about the country era, family who still goes to the rodeo. I'm all here for it. Glad to hear you
Yes,
are too.
there's a black rodeo. People don't even know that. Y'all know there's a national black rodeo. Go to it.
Talk
Put
about
on
it.
some Spurs. Go to it.
Listen, we all can be ready to do our Texas Hold'em line dance too.
Yes.
Shifting gears a bit because obviously, yes, you're black, you're queer, you're from the South, but you also are into the geekiness of everything that is Marvel, specifically
Mm-hmm.
X-Men.
I love
And
the X-Men.
all right, talk about it because some people may not know that you also wrote a comic. So Marvel's Voices Pride,
Yeah.
Cryotherapy.
Yeah, Marvel's Voices, X-Men #1. I was able to write a fun little sparring match between two queer icons, Storm and Iceman. It's a fun little training sequence where they get to both kind of be about the action, but also talk about the action. You get their shared legacy, their history, kind of the Venn diagram of their power set, the fact that they're both Omega mutants, and the fact that they both, once again, changed my life. What happened? So the Marvel editors, whenever they reached out to me, I was like, "Oh, I'll do a story about these people," and I was gonna try to like use, I was gonna try to use Prodigy, who's a queer mutant, and Cipher, but Cipher with an I, who's like a mutant who I love. She's this like very like stealthy black girl, and then but then they were like, "Oh, well, we also have a couple of like bigger names on the board," and like there I was like, who? They were like, "Well, we have Storm, we have Iceman." I was like, got him. I was like, nope, give them to me. And so when I wrote this story, and when we talk about queer moments, there are two moments in the animated series, which was my first introduction to X-Men, that made me go, holy. So the first moment was Storm, episode 1, Nine of the Sentinels, part 1, when Storm and Rogue and Jubilee were in the mall. First of all, there's a crowd running towards them, and Rogue, who is so damn funny and so Southern, Rogue says, "Who must be a sale?" Which the humor in those two pilots, very very funny. And but then you see Storm basically change her clothes with her power, which is not in her power set at all. But give it to her, give it to her in the mall. And so when they're saving Jubilee, and then there's one episode called Cold Comfort that introduces us to Iceman Bobby Drake. And in that episode, Iceman was drawn so sexily that I think the X-Men, that was the first gay agenda. They knew if I was to watch that, my little gay would be like, I want that one. I don't know what's going on here, but I need that toy. So both of them have such an important place in my heart. So I was so happy I got to write that.
I love hearing that. Also, that Bobby Drake episode, is that the one where he's also dating Polaris in that?
Well, they're exes because Polaris is dating Havoc, but they like he's trying to save Lorna from X Factor, but he doesn't know that she's working for them. It's very funny because Bobby's entire arc, both in the comics and like kind of in kind of the public eye, is that he did a lot of stuff that queer men do before they're able to fully come out. He was like, "No, I'm gonna date this girl, and it's not gonna work. I'm gonna date this, it's not gonna work. I'm gonna become an accountant. I'm gonna move to Los Angeles. I'm gonna move back to New York. You know what? I don't even need to do this anymore." And so then when he finally did get to come out in 2015, I thought it was I really liked it. I'm still like figuring out the best way to put that into my stand-up because I do have some stand-up about the X-Men. So I'm also working on that. But it's just when I got to play with both those characters, even if it was just for a short story, a one-shot in an anthology series, it made me so happy. I think about it and I go, what? They let my gay do that? What?
Listen, the talent speaks for itself, okay?
Thank you.
You gotta give the flowers out here, Jay, for sure. Now, on the topic of X-Men, I'm sure that means you've seen our boy Bobby all buddy buddy with Hercules in that variant cover for Marvel Pride as well. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on former LA teammates hooking up. It's a cover, it's a variant cover for the wedding issue between Mystique and Destiny. So I hope, listen, we have all done things at weddings that we look back and go, never again. So you know what? Bobby, get it in. But also you don't gotta stay with that man. That don't gotta be your man. You just listen, it might be just real quick, just to see what's going on. Because Hercules is also figuring out his queerness. He just dated Novar. He had a little twink, a little alien twink for a while. But also, Hercules is one of those people that there's a funny episode of like the death of Hercules. And so there's a very funny, it's almost like blink and you miss it moment where like North Star is there, uh, but amongst the women who have made love with Hercules, and then he leaves really quick, and everyone's like clocked.
Like, all right, all right. Now, okay. North Star.
Mm-hmm. That was before he was
Seems,
married, but also I don't know what their rules are. I don't know what their rules are.
we don't know at all. But you know what? Hey, that was the past. That was the old North Star. Here's the
Yeah.
new North Star, all booed up, married up, and everything. Speaking of that, obviously, you're also married too.
Mm-hmm.
It's been what, 2 years
Well, it'll
now?
be 2 years this July.
Okay, early congratulations anyway.
Thank you.
Um, and recognizing that you are an X-Men fan, and we know that a certain X-Men, or certain trio, are actually a throuple. So I
Okay.
gotta ask you, what would be the X-Men you and your husband would be in a throuple with?
Oh my God. What? Okay, I mean, the X-Men who I would want to date is not out yet, but well, he's not officially, he's not canonically out. It's a bunch of winks and nods. Uh, but Roberto da Costa, Sunspot is the
Okay,
hottest, pun intended. Sunspot is the most like me, but also like I Sunspot is such a cutie that yeah, it'd be Roberto.
you got good taste. Roberto would be is a good one to be in a
He
throuple
also
with.
like it's also so I mean, I just his entire like kind of persona is about being a sexy rich Brazilian playboy, but then also like it's inherently tied to his blackness. Cause like his superpower is he gets stronger when he's exposed and absorbs solar radiation, but also he gets blacker, so then he gets stronger. He's like an Afro Latin Superman. It's like so I like it. I like it a lot. So also I think his power set is so cool. And he's another person I would love to write. I have to work on my Portuguese, but you know,
Also, I just want to point out justice for Afro Latino Roberto as well. So put
yeah,
that
yeah,
out
yeah. Make sure his curl pattern look right. Y'all stop straightening that boy's hair.
there. I love it. Now, you're also, touring other states, stand-up comedy. That's the life. You're out here, venue to venue. What are three things you cannot go without when you are touring?
Okay. This is me being a baby. I need w- good protein bars just because like you're in and out of so many things. Like on an airplane, it's like 4 hours. Like I need good protein bars, and there are a couple that I really like. I like the Bear Bells. Bear Bells, that's the brand that I like. That's like really, really good. And I'll settle for like also like Cliff Builder bars too. Bear Bells protein bar. They are very good. And then I also I need I need like a travel size of cologne because if you have a cologne that makes you feel good, like you can always kind of like drop back in and you feel cool and you feel like
Mhm.
sexy and you feel like I don't know, productive. And I think the final thing is like probably my walking around shoes and like my cute shoes. And that's it.
Okay. Okay. All right. Wait, but what's your signature scent then? You kind of smell good.
Ooh, okay. Travel wise, I right now I'm obsessed with Le Labo Te Noir, but then also like Tom Ford Oud Wood at night is great.
So I gotta ask, you're performing at Netflix as a joke
I
in May.
am.
Uh-huh. And in a post, you said you take back everything you said about LA. So now I have to ask you, why is New York better than LA?
New York is not better than LA. New York is just very different, and you have to turn on your LA brain. That's something that I discovered in my many travels. New York brain is so direct and so just kind of like point A to point B, where LA brain is like point A, and then like go to a friend's house and then talk about going to point B. And then, yeah, actually, we should go get coffee. Ah, it's actually too late for coffee. Let's get tea. You know what? I know a place. And then maybe you get to point B later. So I just have to relax more when I'm there. have to be less, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. And I also just have to accept people for how they are, which, is hard as a New Yorker because you'll be like, why aren't things going my way? Because you have to fight every day. But I take back everything I said about Los Angeles. I take it all back. I take it all back, except for the fact that, like, I think that, and y'all agree, I think that the setup to get out of LAX is worse than Saw. All of the Saw movies treat their victims better than LA Exit. I don't know what the hell that is.
I mean, can't say nothing else beyond that.
Yeah, it's a social experiment. It's a torture device. Netflix, you should film how people get to where they're trying to go after they get out of their gate, walk through, go to the shuttle, stand in the parking lot for hours like Squid Game, and wait for a car to then sit in traffic for another hour. It's, whatever.
Well, with that, Jay, I appreciate all the time you give me today. I know the viewers and the readers over at Queerty are definitely going to appreciate this. So thank you so much and best of luck at the Queerties. See you there.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If I don't win, I will strip. But then if I say that, people aren't going to vote for me because they're going to want to see me naked. And if you want to see me naked, just go to Twitter, go to Instagram. I don't know.